World number one, Luke Humphries, ahead of Cardiff, Premier League night 7. Listen, you've had week off? How are we feeling? Recharged or not?
Recharged, refreshed, and ready to go.
Yeah?
Yeah. It's been I think my longest break now since probably after the Worlds. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting back into action. I feel refreshed and really looking forward to playing tomorrow night.
Do you feel like you needed it? Because of UK Open, you had the Euro Tour as well, Pro Tour. It just seemed a bit, all over the place. And I know that's what darts entails now, but was it getting on top of you, the heavy schedule?
It can drain you a little bit. It can tire you out, fatigue you. Your mind kind of gets a little bit lost where you're just playing too much. So, yeah, I mean, sometimes when you just take your mind off it for 6 days and it kind of refreshes you a little bit, and you actually look forward to come back playing.
One thing I was noticing, because obviously I watch your games, or I watch all of your games. Obviously, I've always got you under a big microscope because obviously I rate you. You're a good bloke, and you're my favourite player. Obviously, I mean I'm meant to be no bias. But one thing I'm noticing with your game at the moment, obviously, it's just me speaking to the world number one. There's a lot of eye rolling if you don't secure that big treble or that big number. Is that just your coping mechanism at the moment, or are you just trying to, the standard that you are you almost getting sort of like in your own head and a bit disappointed? Yeah,
well, I think it kind of is my coping mechanism. It's hard to just throw darts at a dartboard and sort of turn around with no emotion all the time. I'm not one of them players that has big celebrations when you hit a 180 or if you take out a ton plus finish, but if I didn't have them reactions with my face and the eyes, I'd probably be absolutely, no emotion would be coming from me. So some way it has to have some emotion that comes at me. Obviously, if you see me at a big finish or a timely 180, then you do get a celebration. But yeah, I think people sometimes read into it too much, that it's too negative. But of course, you get yourself to number one, and this is the way you've been. I don't think it affects me too much.
Almost like you expect. You expecting more from yourself?
I expect more from myself all the time, whether I'm playing really well or not playing very well. I always expect more because you never want to be happy where you are. You always want to strive for more. You always want to be better. And sometimes if you get a perfect triple and then you don't follow it with another one, it's disappointing because you have to be at the level you need 140s a lot more often than not. So, yeah, it's kind of a coping mechanism in a way to drive myself on to score and be better.
Luke Littler took top spot last week. Are you phased about dropping down to number 2? I mean, we're only 7 weeks in.
Yeah,
but do you care if you finish 1 or 4th, as long as you make it to the O2?
If you offered me 4th right now, I'd take it, because for me it doesn't matter whether you finish 1st or 4th. It's all about being in that top 4. The likeliness is the top 4 that is now, I fancy that will be the top 4, but anything can happen, so you have to make sure that you're picking up these first wins, because they're the most important, the 2 points. And if it is the top 4 that it is now, there's no easy draw in the semi-final, so it doesn't really matter who you play. But of course, you want to finish first. That's a nice little achievement to have, but it's hard being very consistent on the top level for 16 weeks straight. So if you do finish first, then you've obviously earned it. And last year it was quite tight between me and Luke, but he has a lot higher level of consistency sometimes that I don't have, which I'm trying to implement in my game right now.
Littler said a couple of weeks ago, speaking about how badly he wants to be world number 1. You've got a lot of tournament money up for grabs. When you hear Littler say that, and of course everyone wants to be world number 1, what do you think?
Not much really. I mean, I'm not fighting desperately to be world number 1. I'd rather be world champion, which he is. So for him, I'm sure he'd be more happy to be world champion than world number 1. For me, it doesn't matter what happens in the next 6, 7, 8 months. It's all about the world championships. We all know that the world champion's going to get £1 million. So whoever wins that is going to be world number 1. If I win that, I'll be world number 1 for a long time. If Luke wins that, he's going to be world number 1 for a long time. And if you've got someone like Michael van Gerwen and Gerwyn Price winning it, they'll jump to number 1. Yep. So it really does not matter what happens over the next 7, 8 months. It's whoever wins the Worlds that will carry on that number 1 spot. So because the gap in between the other majors is so massive, it's all dependent on the Worlds now. So whoever wins that World Championships, I can guarantee will probably be world number 1.
With us being in Cardiff, I need to ask you this. I know he's here today. If you end up playing Gezi tomorrow night, I mean, you're not scared of anything because you're world number 1, but I think there's going to be 99.9% of people supporting Gezi. I know your mum and dad are always in the crowd. it might be a case tomorrow night that they're the only two supporters of you.
They're not even there tomorrow.
They're not even there. It's 100% Gezi.
Yeah.
Are you worried?
Absolutely not. I hope that is the case, because that means I've made the final. So that's another 3 points. So yeah, I'd love to play him. Obviously, it's going to be a tough crowd playing Gezi in Wales, but on the other hand, that can add added pressure. You know, he said to me earlier that he really wants to win tomorrow night, but obviously he's under a lot of pressure because he wants to win for the fans. And I know what that feels like. When I played in Leeds, I was desperate to win, and I did win, but I felt the pressure. So that can be an added aspect that might not be the way he wants it to go. But yeah, I'd love to play him in the final tomorrow night and see what happens. But going to be a brutal atmosphere for anybody that plays him. I know that.
Well, you got MVG opener. I know his run of form recently hasn't been what it normally is, and it's almost a strange sort of situation being a darts fan, being a darts reporter, and seeing him like this. Everyone's going to go through peaks and troughs during their career. But is it sort of like, could it be a danger for you going into that opening game when he's so out of form that he's going to try and bring his A game no matter what? And that is where it could pick up, even though he lost on the Pro Tour opening match this week as well. Yeah,
I think with Michael, he's the word for him at the moment is inconsistent. You know, he has a great game and then he sort of has a bad game in the semi-finals in the Premier League, and I think that's what's letting him down. But his first game is usually pretty decent. So I think we're in the 7th week, yeah. So I think he's won 5 out of 6 weeks first round games. So that's a good stat on his behalf. But I've got a great winning record against him, and he knows that. So obviously the confidence will be high playing him, but I'd never take Michael for granted. He's still one of the best players in the world, and when he turns up at his best, he's one of the toughest to beat. So, whatever's gone before, where the way he's playing or whatever, that won't enter my mind. I'll be fully prepared to face the best version of Mike Van Gerwen.
We all know that you're so close to Stephen Bunting and train with him as well. He's had a lot of hard luck in the Premier League. He's been playing so well as well, but it's just not been happening for him. Has he spoken to you about anything like how he's not been able to perform on the hockey and just how out of luck that he's been so far?
Oh yeah, of course. Obviously we're really close friends, so when things ain't going right, obviously he's going to come to me and ask me for a bit of advice, and him and his manager did. They said, can you have a word with Stephen and try and give him a bit of encouragement, which I did. I said to him, I don't know if the walk-on songs affected him a little bit at the start. Nathan had this problem. He told me that the buzz is so high for the first couple of legs, it's hard to come down from.
Is it like a euphoria thing?
Yeah,
because
when you
your
got
crowd interaction so high as well with I Predict a Riot.
Yeah.
Have you felt that? Because that's a good thing that you can sort of bounce back with.
Mine's not as big as Stephen's and Nathan's.
Yeah.
And obviously, when you got that massive buzz for the first 2 legs, you're waiting to come down a little bit, and he hasn't had a great record in winning the first couple of legs. So I said to him, when you do your walk-on, do it, and then give yourself like 15-20 seconds at the table before you go and throw your practice starts to allow yourself to to come down from that adrenaline a little bit. And it did help him out a little bit. He said last week, obviously he didn't win, but he played well. So
we hit the fish as well. Didn't
yeah,
he?
Exactly. I think he'll be all right. It's going to be hard for him to qualify for the top 4 now, but 3 wins out of the next 10 weeks, whatever it is, he could do it. So I'm sure he'll be okay. But it's obviously a very daunting task when you're sat bottom of the league, no points after 6 weeks. It's a horrible feeling. But yeah, I'm sure he'll be all right. He's got a good chance tomorrow night against Chris, because they both haven't won a point since the first week. So it's going to be a good, big 2 points for him up for grabs.
I need to ask you, where are the golden darts? And firstly, Brighton, we know the TV coverage was dipping in and out. Your first televised 9-darter along with Rob Cross. I was screaming in my living room because it was sensational, and I was hoping it wasn't going to cut out. I love asking players this. Where are the golden darts currently located in your house?
They're not with me yet.
They're not been delivered?
No, they're still being made, I think. So I think I'll get them in the next couple of weeks. But yeah, I'm not going to tell you where they are, so you can come rob me out and take them from me.
You think I want to come all the way up to Crewe? I've got better things to do than come to Crewe.
If I invited you around for dinner, would you come? Would you come?
If you invited me around,
would.
Of course I would. I know you're probably bored of being asked this question. Everything patched up with James Wade at the moment? I mean, what happened at the UK Open? The reported deleted tweet and whatnot, and is it just,
Yeah,
was it mind games, and is it all fine now?
Yeah, James is James. It wasn't the lick of the neck that everyone thought it was. He was doing a few things that was not trying. It was putting me off a little bit on the stage, but he was adamant he wasn't doing it. And we see each other, I think, like the next week in the airport, and we just sort of, you know, it's just a, what do you call it? It's just a little tiff, isn't it? You know, something that is easily brushed under the carpet.
When you're with people for such a long time, it's going to happen.
It wasn't a big deal. He messaged him anyway straight after and said, "Look, mate, whatever you thought I was doing, I wasn't doing it, and you know, it's brushed under the carpet now. These sort of things happen in darts, and obviously I weren't happy at the time, but yeah, I've sort of got over it now."
Well, it's lucky because I was going to lick your neck when I saw you.
You can do that off camera.
Oh, can we? Oh, get to lick his neck. Right, last question that I've got for you. There's a story that I read this week. You're helping out a young lad named Alex McGarry, who has autism and has been bullied in school. We know you're a class act. We know you're a gent. But you're able to share more on this because it's such a lovely idea that you have for Alex and everything that he's been going through recently at school.
Yeah, I mean, someone tagged me in something, and obviously I read the post about what it was, and it was saying that obviously he was getting incredibly bullied in a horrible way, and his mum and dad had to pull him out of school and stuff, and I thought to myself, you know, I couldn't imagine that happening to me, or my son. So yeah, I knew he liked darts, so I thought that the best thing to do is maybe give him something to remember, you know, not realise that not all people in the world are bad, because that's probably what he feels at the moment, that all people are bad, and I don't want him to grow up in a way that is negative to anybody in his life. So he loves darts. We've got him some tickets now for Manchester, so getting backstage to meet the players, and I've messaged his dad to say, you know, who's his favourite player, and we'll get him a signed shirt, whoever it may be. I'm sure one of the players, whoever it is, won't mind. And he's going to have a night to remember, and all the bullies that will be sat at home that do bully him will, hopefully they're jealous of it, because he's getting to do something that money can't buy. You know, it's an incredible thing. You can't buy these sort of things, and he deserves it. I hope he has a good night. Obviously, I'll meet the family in Manchester. And it's just nice to give back a little bit sometimes and make someone's day, which is obviously a really nice feeling for me. But obviously, his mum and dad might get a great feeling from, you know, seeing him happy as well.
Class act, as always. Luke Humphries, world number one. Thank you so much.
Thank you.